wild foods don't just grow in rural areas. There's an abundance of them in urban areas as well. You just need to know what to look for. And we're here in Clasper Village, which is in the heart of the urban Gateshead, and we're surrounded by an abundance of wild foods. Councils love to plant cherry trees because the blossom in the spring looks wonderful, but most people don't actually realise that the fruit that they produce in the autumn, in the summer and autumn, is actually quite edible. And here we have some nicely planted cherry trees and some rainwater, and they grow rather pleasant cherries. So, stones. Of course, you can use cherries for eating raw, or making into jams, or as we did last week, we made into cherry vodka. But jams, pies, preserves, spirits, all sorts of uses for cherries, as well as eating them raw. Rowan or mountain ash is another one that's a favourite with councils for planting out. And it's one of the reasons why it's so popular with them is because they come up with these beautiful scarlet berries in the summer and autumn. Now, the berries themselves aren't directly or immediately edible, although the birds do like them. But they're full of pectin, and they can actually be used for making jellies. In fact, they're very good for jellies, but they're very bitter. So when cooking with them, you tend to add them to other things, such as crab apples, to make crabapple and Rowan jelly, just to sort of give that bit extra taste to the crabapple. You can actually just make Rowan jelly by itself, because as I said, these things are full of pectin. But add them to other berries to make hedgerow jellies or jams, and they're very versatile to use. But also they make this lovely display in the summer and autumn. Rose hips, well, which garden is free of rose hips, but good display here of the sort of really big, fat, chunky rose hips that tend to be to grow on a lot of rose bushes in this country. They can be used for syrups, jam making. Sometimes you can make some kind of marmalade with them as well. But they're packed full of vitamin C, so very nutritious crop you can get from these. As I say, tend to grow all over the place. Get two main varieties, these big fat ones, which tend to come from the more sort of domesticated type roses, or next to it the more sort of wild type variety, and these ones aren't ripe yet, but again they can be used for making jams, jellies and syrups later in the year when they ripen. Elder, not ripe at the moment, but later in the year, probably in about 4 or 5 weeks time up here in the northeast, they'll come out as a sort of beautiful sort of dark purple berry. Very good for making jams, jellies, added to things like blackberries to make jellies, but very popular with red wine makers as well. Start off with white bunches of flowers in the spring, which are also, the flowers are very good for making champagnes or adding to jams, such as with gooseberries to make gooseberry and elderflower jam. In fact, that's one of my favourites. But up here in the northeast, it'll be about probably a month before we start picking these. But I've seen them down in London already. It's the middle of August, and already starting to ripen down there, a few weeks ahead of us. Moved on to Watergate Park now, which is on the sort of the more suburban fringe in central Gateshead. And one of the reasons why we've come down here is that the council has rather kindly planted out a large number of hazelnut trees, or hazel trees, and these aren't ready for picking yet, but as you can see, the hazelnut there always surprises me how much we pay at Christmas to buy hazelnuts in the supermarket, whereas here we can pick vast quantities of them for no cost at all. The only thing is you've got to beat the squirrels to them. So. Well, there's just about no place in the country that doesn't have blackberries growing, and here on Watergate Park we've got plenty growing, and they're a bit early this year. In fact, they've been getting earlier for a number of years now, but blackberries are very versatile. These can be used in jams, jellies, or even just eaten raw. Here goes. Yeah, not bad. I said earlier on that councils like to plant Rowan, or sometimes known as mountain ash, because of the bright red berries that they have, because they make rather nice displays. Well, a typical example of that is here at Watergate Park, where as you can just see the sort of whole sort of head tree line of Rowan that's planted, and they do come with these absolutely fantastically coloured scarlet red berries, which make an amazing display, but also are an excellent food source.